And we are live. Welcome to Tonight in America. I'm your host, Dontaris Jones, and we have an exciting show tonight for you. Man, it's good to be back, everyone. Hold on, I'm doing something. Flip horizontally. Yep, that's good. Forgive me. I unplugged my internet. I don't know how the hell that happened. Oh man, this shit is so aggravating sometimes. But as you can see, we won't be having no more buffering issues right now. That's what I was working on. That's why I haven't been live in a couple of days. And of course, I wanted to make sure everything was good before I go live. So right now we're good on my end. I have a router connected to my Wi-Fi. So now my Wi-Fi should be stronger and we won't have no more buffering issues. No more dropping frames. No more nothing really. So everything's good now. I was kind of worried for a moment because I thought that my router was acting up before I went live, but then I accidentally unplugged my internet because my internet's like right here on my desk. And yeah, I need to put that in a different area. So, but anyways, it's live now. We should be good. So no more issues. Never again. So today's just a chill stream. I'll be back to doing the news tomorrow. I haven't been able to really be covering any news lately because I've been so busy, caught up with like everyday life. Tomorrow for sure, I'm going to be back to covering the news. There's a lot that I've been missed talking about. I'm probably going to get caught up on the Fulton County, and then I'm going to talk about this hostage situation with possible hostage situation with one of the Today news anchors and her mom being kidnapped. Nancy Guthrie, if I pronounce her name right. I'm gonna probably cover that tomorrow. There's some other things I'll cover. We're probably gonna react to Marco Rubio's speech tomorrow too as well, that he just had in a conference at a forum. So I'm going to probably react to that tomorrow in full length. I haven't seen the full speech. I'm going to probably watch it tonight off camera, write down some notes of some notes to basically take away what I heard from the speech and what I got away from it. And then we're going to give my full reactions to it tomorrow. And then we're also going to probably talk about possible government shutdown that's coming again. Yes, we got ourselves another government shutdown. They couldn't come to, apparently the Republicans and the Democrats couldn't come to a decision about how it pertains to like funding towards DHS, i.e. when it comes to all the stuff that's happened with ICE. The Democrats want some conditions to be met. The Trump administration is not willing to follow on said conditions. So now instead of coming to a resolution, now we are heading towards a government shutdown now. And because the Democrats want the Republican Party to basically capitulate to demands that are going to basically kind of cripple ICE and put ICE in a situation to where they can't necessarily do their jobs. So we're going to talk more about that tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. We should be a pretty good show today. Just a chill stream today. It's nothing crazy. No politics today. Tomorrow we're going to be right back on our regularly scheduled program. I just wanted to make sure my router works today. That's why I did a chill stream today. So I got my Wi-Fi and my router hooked up. No more problems. No more buffering issues. We can finally probably never have to deal with that shit again. I'm happy. Now I can stream without having to worry about drops and frames or something. Let me up my quality of my phone. So I got my stream on my phone playing so I could react to my stream. Okay, so we got two videos. We got one from Turkey Tom. We got one from our good boy CoffeeZilla. We could probably watch the alleged death cult website that killed 50 people, the darkest internet rabbit hole. We're gonna probably watch this one first. Get a good reaction video in today. Try to make sure everything is smooth. Let me do this right quick so that way we can make sure my ugly mug is not taking up too much of the screen. Basically, this is gonna be for clips. All right. So, yeah, my ugly mug shouldn't be taking up too much space at the clip. I mean, too much space on the screen. All right. So let's go ahead and look at this video.
2019, Sean Alexandra Chateau made a thread on an obscure website announcing that she was about to take her own life. Instead of attempting to dissuade her, the responses to her thread were, "Good luck with everything, my fellow JoJo fan. May your travel be peaceful and successful. Wish you success. I hope you have smooth travels. Good luck. I hope your journey is peaceful. Good luck. I'm doing hanging now." These messages were not sent ironically. Unlike websites like 4chan, where users are quick to assume everything you're saying is untrue or just for attention and will tell you to do it as a joke, this forum fully knew what Sean meant. As a matter of fact, the very method that she used came from the forum. The third reply to her thread asked her about the specific concoction she took to achieve her desired result, which she replied to, giving the exact amount of the substance she took, before adding, "Also, I feel bad because my mom is just down the hall from me." In response, another user said, "For some reason, I'm not 100% sure this will work because your mother is down the hall. If she hears noises coming from your room, she will come in and will call an ambulance if you're in a bad way. I'm not trying to stop you, I'm just saying." Half an hour later, Sean returned to the thread to announce she had finished taking these substances, saying, "Just took it. I'm terrified." The replies that followed read like a celebration, most of them saying she had found peace. Surprisingly, the only part about this the posters took any issue with is that her account was banned, which would prevent her from posting again in case she survived, so they wouldn't be able to know how effective the method was.
What
they
the
even
fuck?
have a code phrase for attempting to take your own life: catching the bus. A couple of hours after her last post, Sean's mother took notice of her absence and decided to knock on the door. When she received no answer, she walked in, only to find her daughter lying on the floor. Once the police arrived, they were perplexed by the fact that they couldn't figure out why she had died. That is, until they went through her phone, instantly finding the forum and a series of posts from other users giving her step-by-step instructions on a 3-day regimen of over-the-counter medication that would lead to her passing. A couple of days later, a user named Curious
Yeah, these a lot of these dark corners on the internet are like, you have like a lot of these freaks that live on these corners, and like they do a lot of weird shit. This is one of them, of course. I've heard cases a lot of this where you have like a lot of cultists. They live a lot on these corners of the internet. They try to recruit people, or they hack into your system and try to steal a lot of your information. So yeah, I'm not surprised by this video already, just by the few minutes we've been, like, just by the 2 minutes we've already been in the video already. So like, she was convinced to go and like take her own life. These types of satanic people that live on these very like out of nowhere sections of the internet, these people get off on that. It's their type of kink. You know, I hear a lot of horror stories about this stuff. You'll be surprised. I've listened to a lot of horror stories over the years, and it just keeps getting darker and darker and darker. I genuinely can't stress this enough, like how insane some of the stories I've heard about some of the stuff that goes on, like on these sections of the internet. You know, there are some really sick people that be on the internet. You know, really sick people. And like I said, they just get off on this type of stuff.
1983 made a new post to the thread. "I'm a family member of this girl, and yes, it was successful, but I can tell you how it feels. It feels horrible for everybody who is left behind. It feels absolutely unthinkable for her mother and her brothers and sister and her dad and her stepdad and her aunts and uncles and cousins. It is heartbreaking and it is devastating. It is the worst pain you could ever imagine. For all of those out there feeling like this is the only way, think about all the people you are leaving behind, the people who would do anything and everything to make it better for you. So instead of encouraging these people to feel like this is the only way out, how about let's encourage them to get help and to know that there are other ways." And the worst part of it is her mother had to find this post, and that people were encouraging her daughter to take her life instead of helping her, completely undoing everything her family had been doing.
Wow.
While one user had the decency to say they were sorry for this person's loss, the next poster started asking for details on Sean's death, asking if it was peaceful.
Yo, what the hell? Yo, some people are just sick, bro. What the fuck? Hi, are you willing to give details on how she died? Was it peaceful? Who asked that question, bro? Who asks this question? Like, you telling me you would ask somebody randomly on the internet that you don't know personally about the death of a loved one, and you want to actually detail how did they go and did they go out peacefully? What? Yo, people are fucking weird, bro. I'm telling you.
The second page of the thread, meanwhile, is full of people arguing with Sean's relative, saying her mother sounded like a narcissist for blaming the website and other things of that sort. Eventually, the owner of the website, Marquise, came to the thread to say this: "I want to make one thing very clear. No one was encouraging her to take her life. This isn't a pro-death forum. It's a pro-choice one, meaning either way, we will support your decision." With Sean's family coming forward and speaking to the media, news about what had happened blew up, and of course, there came many calls for the website to be taken down, as well as for laws to be created to...
Yeah, this one's interesting. Let me turn my air on right quick, and we're gonna ready to lock in. Oh man. All right, so we lock it in. All right.
punish anyone who encourages people like Sean to take their own lives.
One more thing. Oh man. Gotta have the energy drink. 1 second. Gorilla Mine. Light so bright. Okay. Yeah. Gorilla Mine. Great drink. Right. So let's lock in right now.
Due to the massive controversy that took place, the site's owner once again came forward to respond to the claims that he was running a website that encouraged people to take their own lives. I don't blame the parents, friends, and siblings of the member for blaming this forum for their loss. It has been very hard for me to make this thread, as I felt like I was at fault somehow for what happened. I've been contemplating many things ever since this happened. Any loss of human life will always be sad and tragic, and I do really feel for the family in this situation. At the same time, I don't appreciate the misrepresentation of this forum by the family in the media, or the constant calls in the past few days for this forum to be shut down. The accusations of encouraging death are completely unfounded. The demonization of this forum by family members and friends of the deceased member on Facebook has been sickening for me to watch. To say that our community encourages people to take themselves out is simply not true. To say that this forum murdered this member is false. There's not a single post in the thread that the deceased member posted that encourages death in any capacity, and to suggest that they were would not be true in the slightest. It is against our rules to encourage anyone to die or any other type of act, and every single member that is signed up knows this fact. Anyone that does encourage a person is quickly removed from the community. We strive to make this community a censorship-free place where people can discuss this topic without having to worry about being involuntarily committed and held against their will. We have a good portion of members that have left this community because they wanted to get on a path to recovery from this, and we support those members as well. We allow the discussion of recovery on our forums because that's what pro-choice is all about. Being able to make those choices without anyone persuading you. We have thousands of members that count on this forum every day to provide them support. I would even go as far as to say that this forum has saved far more lives than any other discussion board on the internet. Without this forum, many of these vulnerable individuals will be without a home or outlet to vent their frustrations with life or about anything else. Based on how this post presents itself, you'd think think that this is just a self-help group for people with these kinds of ideation. But what's blatantly left out is that while outright encouragement is banned, it's only banned nominally. You're still clearly allowed to commend someone who will move forward with their attempt. And on top of that, there are absolutely no guidelines.
It sounds like to me it's still like you're still basically encouraging that person to, you know, self-delete. It's just like you have to just not like say it outright. You know, that's what I'm getting away from it. Because it seems like to me like the forum is like literally like just full of like some of the world's worst people. I wouldn't even say the worst people. They're just like very low human capital. What you have in this forum right here are people that are just not like socially adept, you know, social outcast, you know, antisocial types, you know. That's the way I look at this forum. This forum, it seems like to me it's filled with like a bunch of just like degens. Like a bunch of people who just are chronically online people who interpretate everything through their computer screen. They don't live in reality. You know the old cliche and saying they don't go outside and touch grass. So that's what I get from this right here, you know. So even though it's not encouraged to go out there and self-delete, you know, they do basically they kind of code it in a different way to where it doesn't come off as being like, hey, self-delete. Basically, it's just not like outright telling them to do it or go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it because we all know you're not going to do it. So that's basically what that's the type of like pretty much kind of like the analyst, like the analysis I'm getting from this website. Like this forum pretty much is clear, like full of like societal rejects, like very low human capital. These are not like refined people. Excuse me, let me turn that off right quick. All these people on this website are like clear, like I said, they're just like basement dwellers. So I've never heard of this forum before. This is my first time ever hearing about this, honestly. Just by looking at, watching this Turkey Tom video, I've never heard of this forum before. There's some ones I've heard about, but this one right here is a very new one that I've heard, that I've just recently now learned today existed. Didn't know about this before. So
against providing in detail instructions on how to do it most effectively, none of which I can show here for obvious reasons. On the other hand, it seems like the users usually refrain from telling people not to do it. With these things in place, whatever arguments about how the website doesn't encourage the act come up short. This isn't to say that radical censorship is the answer, but if the site provides tutorials on how to take yourself out, to act like it's not facilitating people to do so.
Whoa, I didn't know about that one. Okay, whoa, a tutorial on how to take your own life? Yo. Whoa. What the fuck?
Is just acting oblivious. No Addict Recovery Center will also have instructions on how to procure narcotics and how to shoot up most effectively right next to their pamphlets. It feels like recently there's been a lot of discussion on the internet about the ethics of promoting things like gambling websites or OnlyFans, with some people arguing that they can easily destroy people's lives and thus should be
we should ban OnlyFans.
But the thing about both of those is you can still come back in some way, regardless of how far you've fallen into those rabbit holes, because ultimately you're still alive. In the case of Marquise's forum and the philosophy it nurtures, there is no coming back. Additionally, given how their philosophy can easily be the product of a mental illness and is often inseparable from it, you can easily compare this to anorexia communities. If you're familiar with terms like thinspo, pro-ana, and pro-mia, then you know how big of a problem this is and how bad certain corners of the internet are as far as rationalizing and normalizing mental illnesses and then intertwining them with true information related to nutrition. It gets even more ethically questionable, if not downright evil, when you factor in that some of the people who are on this forum, some of which go through with it, are minors. At least one 17-year-old who took his own life, Matthew, was verified to have gotten his method from the website, while several other unconfirmed teenagers are claimed to have done the same. It really doesn't matter how rational you consider your philosophy on taking your own life to be, minors aren't equipped to make a decision like that. The site does have a minimum age of 18 to register, but their age age verification is a simple CAPTCHA that has you say you're 18, so it doesn't really verify if you're actually of age, which is
So I'm guessing it doesn't require you to post up like your social security card. I mean, not your social security card, your social security number, basically to verify, because like a lot of websites have to verify if you're of, especially some of these like social media like websites, they have to verify your actual age, do a database like any other website does. So I'm guessing this website just asks you, are you 18 or not? And then you just check yes. And then where in reality you're not, but anyone could easily just go on this website and just say they're all 18. And then you could just have like minors basically interact with like a bunch of creepy adults on this website, which is already in itself was already kind of like a big major red flag. Why is it that a site is not doing proper vetting process when it comes to like realizing like who's 18 and who's not? That's insane to me that they even hear this. But they're all sites like this. So again, I've read stories and like hear stories about the dark corners of the internet, and like, bro, the dark corners of the internet, there's no such thing as like an age verification process. It's just like you go there, free game, pretty much.
is something even Discord servers can do at this point with little to no cost. As of 2025, the forum has existed for nearly...
Oh yeah, did you guys see that Discord's gonna have like an age verification process going forth? Yeah, I saw that, and like Moist Critical's mad about that. What the yeah, how is he mad about an age verification? Because like the whole purpose is like the people that are like leftists and like normies, they're so heavy fixated on like being against pedophilia, which is, I get it. But it's just like, if you're against that stuff, shouldn't you all be for like age verification, especially like on Discord, where a lot of that stuff goes on? How many times have we seen where like inappropriate shit has been posted from like Discord chats and stuff? So I generally just don't understand the process behind that.
8 years. And during this time, there have been an alleged 45 identified cases of people who took their own lives after joining the website. Not just from the United States, but also from a variety of these were minors, although the ages of people who are now deceased go all the way up to 58. And once again, keep in mind, these are only the ones who have been identified, as over 500 members have posted their own goodbye threads and proceeded to never post again. Now, some of them could have survived, some of them could be faking it, but the likelihood is that a good part of this 500, if not the majority, actually did it, and it was just never traced back to the forum directly. In January of 2023, YouTuber Martin Curie, known online as Tantacruel, posted a video about the forum. According to him, not only does it incentivize people to not seek help from mental health services and family members, but it also tries to reinforce that only people who want to do it themselves can truly understand their thinking, which is very cult-like, as it cuts people off from the outside world and reinforces their bond to this group and their shared interest. Lastly, Martin claims that the forum serves as a kind of marketplace for self-harm methods. He says that posts on the forum directly led him to a man named Kenneth Law, who sold the materials needed for one of the forum's preferred methods. Kenneth allegedly sold these to over 100 people worldwide, with the age of customers ranging from 16 to 36. When he contacted Kenneth to try and make a purchase, he was never asked about his age. Worst of all, Martin concludes by saying that there are many people on the forum who do the exact same thing as Kenneth. Now, I'm going to reiterate, I'm not a journalist. These aren't claims I'm making personally. I'm simply documenting what's been claimed by all of these other people and outlets like the New York Times. However, it is a matter of fact that Kenneth Law is a real person. He's a 60-year-old man currently facing 14 counts of first-degree murder.
Whoa.
The Canadian police claim that he sent as many as 160 poison packages to people in Canada and at least 1,200 to people.
Dude, what the fuck? Bro. See, bro. What the fuck? Bro, what is going on in fucking Canada right now?
around the world, totaling over 40 countries. Out of all of these packages, he's been linked to somewhere between 117 and 131 deaths. However, that number may be much higher. I think these are just the ones they're trying to prosecute him for, as given the international and indirect nature of the crimes, trying to charge him for every single package he sent would probably be a legal nightmare when it comes to certain obscure territories. It's ironic that he's being legally processed in Canada, of all places, which is the one country where euthanasia has recently become more publicly accepted, and even quote-unquote mature minors, you heard that right, can apply for MAID, short for medical assistance in dying, which is basically when you get doctors to kill you painlessly. As for the forum itself, based solely on what you can see for yourself by going on it, a significant portion of these claims are true. Any expression of intent to catch the bus is applauded unquestioningly by most users. To be clear, this doesn't mean censorship is the answer. It's not as if a perfectly healthy person will get on this website and then catch the bus the next.
Yeah, it's very kind of like a clear line, because like they're not explicitly saying out their mouth to go out there and take your own life, so which is not like necessarily a crime. It's free speech at the end of the day. So they're not telling her to do so, but they're not encouraging her not to do it. So they're technically are like blurring lines between it not being a crime, and, you know, and then it's just like, you know, it's just like pure, just like, well, it's not a crime, but it's like also not trying to stop her from anyone that goes on these websites and like say they're going to take their own lives. So basically, in some ways, they still are encouraging them, just not in an explicit way to make it come off as just like they're like committing a crime. And it is free speech at the end of the day. So I'm not for censoring anybody. Okay. I'm not for censoring anybody. That's not going to change even right now compared to what I'm seeing right now. I mean, like, these people are fucking pieces of shit, but I'm just like, it's free speech. It's free speech. So what can you really do?
Day. However, I also don't think that this site's culture is necessarily helpful for people who do struggle with these issues, and it especially crosses the line for there to be no good age verification and for there to be users giving instructions on how to do it. Ultimately, I'm not here to tell you what to think, but to better understand the nature of the website, I think it's important to get into where this website came from, what other websites it's tied to, and who is actually behind it. All the way back in early 2013, a subreddit with the same name as the forum was created by a Reddit user called Deadman5551. It's important to mention here that this person is not the previously mentioned Marquise, who later came to own the website. These are two different people, and it seems that maybe because this was on Reddit and thus required more careful conduct, Deadman's moderation of it was much more careful than Marquise's. Interestingly enough, as of me writing this video, Deadman hasn't posted in 3 years, so it's entirely possible that he followed through on what his subreddit was about, and his name is no longer symbolic. Then again, there is a Minecraft skin database profile with that same name, and it was updated 9 months ago, so maybe he just left Reddit and is currently mining diamonds. Whatever the case is, the initial set of rules for the subreddit forbid sharing personal information, saying that anything identifiable would be interpreted as a cry of help and forwarded to the authorities. But most importantly, there was no tolerance for discussions of the actual physical act of taking one's life, whether it be procedures or methods or whatever. Doing so would result in an instant ban. As long as the internet's been around, there's always been a variety of online platforms for the discussion of this topic, although many of them either became people trying to prevent others from doing it, or they got banned and shut down for providing explicit methods. The sanctioned subreddit was unique in that it was made specifically to discuss the philosophy of the right to die, and it took about 2 years for it to even reach.
Yo, what the fuck? Yo, Reddit be wrong, bro. Reddit is wild, bro. Holy shit, man, bro. What the, bro? I've been on 4chan, but it's like I never was really on Reddit a lot, but like, bro, this is crazy. What the fuck?
1,000 members. But it's at this point that we start getting into the issue. Much like Marquise's website and other splinter forums, although the sanctioned subreddit had rules against encouraging and providing methods, there were always people blatantly breaking those rules and not being punished. This is not only observable through archives, but also directly claimed by a user of the current sanctioned website. This is sort of the primary...
Bro, you telling me you had people literally in like on Reddit actually like literally explicitly telling someone to actually take their own life and they weren't banned or nothing like that. Okay, that's breaking the law. That's breaking terms of service right there, bro. What, bro? I'm telling you, Reddit is is one of the most degenerate platforms on the planet right now. There's a Twitter X user that goes by the name of Reddit of Lies. He breaks down, he shows all the the photos of all these different types of Reddit accounts that are just like full on far left degenerate scumbags who will call for death against people, bro. They literally praise death on that platform, and you telling me they're still allowed to have a platform on Reddit and not face any consequences? Are you fucking serious, bro? Bro, this is insane to me, bro. What I'm seeing. Bro, Reddit Reddit should have been shut down a long time ago.
Issue over.
Here's the thing, I still like the platform. Don't get me wrong, I still like it because I use live stream fails from Reddit too as well. That little threads community. So I still go on there and I'll still use clips and stuff. Not today, because like I said, we're just reacting to two videos today. Then I'm out of here. But like, bro, Reddit is like pure degenerate scum world, bro. Like, only subhuman levels will go and use Reddit, man. For like, only subhuman people will literally be on Reddit chronically all day, every day, and write about like how much like they hate right-wing stuff, they hate traditional values, they want people to die, they praise Charlie Kirk being killed. Like, bro, what is fucking up with that platform? Like, what the fuck is up with that platform? I thought Twitch was worse. Well, it's not even nearly as bad as some corners of the internet I was spoken about earlier. But like, bro, this is insane to me to hear this stuff.
As all of Marquise's arguments that we went over earlier rely solely on what the rules are. But to actually get into how they're enforced is very difficult, especially for an outsider with no familiarity with it. They can easily have a rule up nominally to make themselves look good, and then internally decide to not enforce it whatsoever. And whenever someone points out that a post is breaking a rule and hasn't been banned, they can just give the excuse of incompetent moderation as opposed to intentionally allowing it. To no one's surprise, by early 2018, once Reddit had been subject to a massive ban wave due to the political climate around that era, the sanctioned subreddit, along with its splinter, were banned for, quote, encouraging violence. At its peak, the sub had over 15,000 members, all of whom were now looking for somewhere else to go. One of the options which presented itself was r/time to go, which has since been restricted and quarantined, despite being a lot more careful with its moderation than sanctioned was. Besides that, there's also r/right to die, which has existed since 2009 as a subreddit for the advocacy of the right to take your own life. Remember, this is the exact purpose of the original sanctioned subreddit, so you have to wonder why sanctioned got banned and this one didn't. It's almost as if there was actually a moderation problem where dozens of posts advocating for death and providing methods went unpunished. Finally, to satiate the morbid cravings of people who actually want to dwell on discussions of taking one's own life constantly, the standalone website with the same name as the sanctioned subreddit was created. Now that they no longer had to pretend to abide by Reddit's guidelines.
Hello, Reddit readers. Hi, everyone who sits on Reddit all day reading it. You're retarded.
This community became what it always wanted to be in the first place, a virtual monument.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, bro, a lot of these Reddit users are like pure, just like degenerate scum, bro. Like, bro. Bro, Brad. Oh my God. What the fuck am I seeing right now, bro? This is crazy. Bro, this is crazy.
To taking one's life. Of course, they can talk about how they also provide resources for people to get better, but you can just take a look at their homepage to see the reality of the situation. The discussion category, where people share their reasons and their thoughts on the most efficient methods, has over 15 times the activity of the recovery category. And that should tell you something about the purpose of this website. Even the off-topic section has more activity. I don't think it's worthwhile to get into the specifics of the forum itself, not only because I've already gone over the most relevant parts, but also because most of the discussions involve extremely depressing testimonies from people who are mentally unwell, if not explicit information on methods of death. While I don't think these people should be demonized or necessarily stripped of a platform, there are plenty of people to whom this kind of ideation is a compulsive issue, and continuously discussing this kind of stuff can lead to what psychology refers to as rumination. If you suffer from things like depression, it can be best to avoid needlessly exposing yourself to things about it for the most part, as you can easily sort of trick yourself into a bad spiral under the impression you're learning or getting something out of it. If you've heard about people who develop PTSD as a consequence of looking at gore online, the process is very similar, where they think they're somehow improving as a person by desensitizing themselves to it, when in reality, they're just making themselves increasingly damaged. Having said all of that, if this community was relegated to subreddits, you'd at least have the excuse that subreddits are easy to make, to the point where Reddit is plagued with millions of random, useless subs that aren't even looked after. But it gets a little harder to explain when you decide to pay out of your pocket to run an independent website to keep the community alive. I mean, what kind of person would willingly run a website with this subject? Well, ultimately, it was precisely the decision to host Sanctioned on its own website that led journalists to who was really behind it all. You see, the original Sanctioned domain was hosted through a registrar called Epic, and in January 2021, Epic decided to stop hosting them because of the presence of minors on their website. While the site came back just a few days later, it wasn't the takedown itself that affected them most, but instead the information that they were hosted by Epic that led to the site taking a hit. Nearly 9 months later, Epic was hacked, and the resulting data leak led to the discovery of the real identities of the owners of the website. First, these—
Oh shit. Oh shit. We're finna get the identities of the owners. They got doxxed by hackers, man. Yo, before we get into this, what y'all think? Who you guys think it is? What do you think their racial demographic is? Like, who do you guys predict these guys look like behind the camera? Because I'm just gonna go off a limb here and say I have the racial demographic in my head of what they look like. I do. I just want to know if I'm right or not. So let me know what you think it is in the comments, because these guys, bro, these guys have to be very sick in their fucking head to believe in this stuff. All right, so we're finna get the reveals right now. So let's brace ourselves for what we're about to see, because these guys have to be so disgusting and grotesque looking, man, to sit there and encourage and just build a disgusting site where people go basically to talk about killing them. Basically, YouTube self-delete themselves, and they're encouraged by other people that are in there to do so, whether it's indirect or not, or indirect. So let's just go ahead and get into this.
Slightly more public and de facto spokesperson and admin of the site, Marquise, was actually revealed to be an American man by the name of Lamarcus Small. Some journalists—
Bro, why did I fucking get, bro? Why did I know that, man? Bro, why did I figure he was, bro? Not only was he fat, I had that right. Bro, that's crazy, man. I'm telling you, it's always the fat guys, bro, that run sites like this, bro. Why is it always the fat guys? Now, as far as him being black, I kind of did have him being black. I kind of did. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did have him be black. And no, I did not see this video. I did not see this video ahead of time. So I was going in as surprised as much as anybody. But bro, that's a shock, man. That is a shock, bro. Man, that's crazy.
Actually went to his house to talk to him about it. They state that they waited for 2 days outside his home before he finally took the trash out.
Hi, Lamarcus. How are you? I'm Angus from the BBC. I want to talk to you about this forum you set up. You know, hundreds of people have died after going on that. Children are even going on that.
They waited outside of his residence for 2 days? Bro. They waited outside. They could have just went knock on the door or something. He would have came to the door. He probably would have shut the door in their face. So I guess it was probably a smart move to wait outside of his residence in 2 days. But I just like, I would have just basically just bum rush. I would have just went to the door and knocked on the door. But I guess hypothetically speaking and logically speaking, it probably would have been a better option just to wait outside, you know, for 2 days until he comes outside and takes the trash out. Then you could just basically just like, you know, bum rush him. So I did think about that part.
You got anything to say to the relatives of the dead? Lamarcus, surely you've got the
Bro,
guts
shut the
to come out
door.
and
He did
talk
not
to
want to
me.
answer no
Now,
questions.
on one hand, I don't really like most journalists, especially mainstream journalists, so I kind of feel bad for him being harassed like this. At the same time, it's not shocking to me that he's being questioned given the kind of site he runs. In another instance of an attempted approach, the Daily Mail got to him while he was walking toward his car, but they still failed to get anything regarding the website out of him. Unlike the BBC and the Daily Mail, the New York Times actually did get some significant information from Lamarcus. They discovered he still lived with his mom and brother, and that his mother had been previously accused of attacking her husband in
Dude's 28 years old. Dude's my age. What the fuck? He's my age. Yo. Oh, his mother and father divorced. Bruh. Of course. His mother and father are apparently divorced. She was accused of attacking her husband in 2010. What the fuck? Then her adult daughter 4 years later. Bruh. The mom sounds kind of crazy. Holy shit. So they divorced because the mother apparently attacked the father and attacked the daughter. So I'm guessing they have other relatives because, like, so the mother, his brother all lived together in a townhouse, and the father and Small's mother divorced, and also she has a history of apparently of like domestic. She has domestic issues, probably some mental issues too as well, because she attacked the father and she attacked the daughter. So, bro, what the fuck? Yeah, I could see why he runs that website. The bro comes from a very he comes from like a very like basically I like a fucked up family. He comes from like a very not well structured family system. Yeah, it's no wonder he runs a site like this. This is, I don't know what to say, bro. I'm kind of lost at words right now because like the mom is like, she's the domestic, she's basically like a domestic abuser, and then Small moved in with her, and one of his brothers. I'm guessing that's his only brother. I know he has. It says right down there that there's a daughter. So I guess Small has two siblings, a brother and a daughter, and then their father and mother divorced because the mother was a violent nut job. Bro, this is pretty crazy. I can see why he runs a site like that.
2010 and her daughter in 2014. If these accusations against her are true,
This guy's one ugly bastard.
and still living with your violently abusive mother in your late 20s to early 30s goes a long way to explain why he felt so drawn to Sanctioned. Over 2 different phone interviews they managed to carry out with him, Lamarcus claimed that he had no idea how any of his information ended up being used to host the site. As you can tell, this probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, and he eventually wisened up and stopped responding to the New York Times altogether. But in the Epic data leak, they also found information belonging to another person, seemingly completely unrelated to Lamarcus, outside of both of them having a role in running Sanctioned. On the website, he was known as Sergeant Incel, or simply Sarge, but his real name was Diego Joaquin Gallante, an Uruguayan man who, like
Oh man, why do you use that meme, bro? A fat beater is crazy, bro. Oh my god, bro. Oh man. Why? Oh my god, yo. The meme is like already just kind of makes it even funnier, bro. What the fuck? Yo, a fat beater is crazy. Yo, a fat Mexican's crazy, bro. Yo, if it's not a fat black guy, it's gonna be a fat Mexican, bro. That's bro. Bro, I'm telling you, fat people are fucking, bro. They're not fit for society, man. Bro, they're not. If you're fat, bro, oh my gosh. Like, fat people already get a bad rep. They're already emotional fucking creatures. But, like, bro, this just takes the cake, bro. They're running a site where they're encouraging people to self-delete, man. Like, two fat fucks. Bro, the meme is crazy, bro. Oh my god, the meme is crazy. Oh my god, the meme is fucking crazy. It's taking me out right now. Holy shit.
Marcus was also in his late 20s and still lived with his whole family. The New York Times mentions also having pictures of him, but as far as I can tell, these weren't actually published. Gayante was a bit more forthcoming with the New York Times, as he admitted to posting to the site as Surge and actually defended it, as he believed it had been an overall positive influence on users' lives. Most likely because he never wanted this much attention in the first place, and due to the fact that assisting someone in taking their own life is illegal in Uruguay, Surge instantly backed away from his role in the forum. LaMarcus did the same, but not before posting a lengthy goodbye thread. This time, not the usual kind of goodbye thread that gets made on this website. In it, he said, "Hello members of the community. Today, I announced my resignation as operator. By tomorrow, this account will be permanently deleted, and I won't have any access to the site, administrative permission, or anything to do with the back end. Since Sarge hasn't been involved with the site in a long time, and I'm resigning too, I've spent the last week transferring everything over to the new operator. Someone capable..."
Yo, to go back on that point right quick, hold on, before we continue on, Sarge Incel is crazy, bro. Yo, the fact they chose a Pepe name, a Pepe picture, you know, Pepe the Frog, that's very popular with the Groyper movement. Like the fact that Turkey Tom, who's pretty much like a fellow traveler with the Groypers, he chose that picture for Sarge. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. My
and
God.
trustworthy, who you will get to know very soon. The way the New York Times has twisted the purpose of this community and the good that it has done has been very damaging to everyone. Not only did they make a transparent attempt to take this site down, but they did so in the most unethical and dishonest way possible. This place is full of caring people that are hurting, looking for someone to talk to, or looking for support in life. We are not a cult, far from it. While it is true that many people come here during their darkest moments, myself included, my main intent has always been to make this place into somewhere people can talk about issues in their life without judgment or without being shoved off to a crisis hotline that doesn't care about their well-being. I have received many thanks from many members on and off this site that tell me the forum has helped them make friends and feel at ease about whatever bad is going on in their life. I have also had the opportunity to speak to some of those grieving over the loss of family or loved ones, and I got a chance to hear from them too. As a person that has experienced loss myself twice in the last year alone, I know that it is not easy to get over losing a loved one. I have much sympathy for those that have gone through the same, and my condolences go out to them. I have made many friends here, many of whom I would like to still keep in touch with after I resign. You all have been wonderful. I'm going to miss you all. Signing off for good, Marquise. I'll let you be the judge of LaMarcus's sincerity here, but what's interesting to me is that the new operator he mentions here turns out to be a user named Rain and Sadness who replied to this thread. Interestingly enough, this new operator has always made it clear they're transgender and actively compared anti-trans talking points
Bro, when it comes to self-deletion and Transformers, they're never not far behind from each other. Like, they're never not far behind from each other. At this rate today, with all these tranny shooters that are going around and shooting up schools, you know, public places, you know, it's, and then I hear the word self-delete. I'm not gonna say the other. I can't say the other word on YouTube, but it's just like when you hear self-deletion and then you hear And then not too far behind, a tranny suddenly pops up out of nowhere. A troon. Bro. This community, this website's run by a tranny now. Bro. Bro. What the fuck, bro? What the fuck, bro? Oh my gosh. Bro. Let's continue on.
To the kind of persecution the website was suffering at the time. Coincidentally, no journalist has ever published any personal information on this person, despite their efforts against the website being ongoing. However you cut it, it seems this stuff was only being put in the spotlight while it was convenient to pursue it. And as soon as it proved to be a little more complicated than just pushing for the government to have the power to take down any and all websites, the majority of journalists backed away. To this day, Diego and Lamarcus have their own section on the sanctioned Wikipedia, despite no longer being associated with the site. But Rain and Sadness is mentioned just once, with no information beyond their online alias. As far as I can tell, Diego has never made any effort to publicly speak out, while Lamarcus has made a series of posts on Kiwi Farms, mostly to the thread about Sanctioned. In it, he claims that, despite all of the hubbub from journalists, actual law enforcement authorities only reached out to him twice, which is a bit surprising considering the amount of attention his case was getting at its peak. He does make some good points about how involuntary commitment to mental hospitals is part of why communities like Sanctioned exist, as people with those feelings can't express themselves freely in fear they'll get put away against their will. Additionally, he confirms that despite having left the website for years at this point, journalists will still insist on reaching out to him instead of its current operator. I will say that in April 2025, Lamarcus did return to Sanctioned, but his role was reduced to being just an advisor. Besides this, the only significant piece of information I managed to find is that Lamarcus used to be big into RuneScape, which honestly explains literally everything that happened here, given the effects that game has on people's minds.
I literally clicked, dude.
Yeah, I've heard about this somewhere before. Yeah, this game has some of the most negative effects on people's psyche. I've heard about that actually. Interesting. Maybe I might do my own journalism video about this. I might go jump into this. Excuse me. I might jump into this game and see what this. Basically, I might go in there and just basically check out the scope of this game and get the feel of it. Should I do that? I have been thinking about doing some form of journalism soon. Like really expand the channel and like give another layer to the channel besides just, me doing my regular news coverages, talk about the culture war too as well, and then we just do like the regular YouTube live streamer stuff, the slop, we go out there and we just like react to videos, of course. But I am thinking about like gaming too as well, or like doing investigative journalism, especially going into gaming sites like this and like Roblox, because Roblox, bruh, I can't even like really get into like the entire like story of Roblox. We're gonna have to watch Turkey Tom's video about Roblox right now and break it down. But like that site is filled with nothing but just like a bunch of like degenerate like pedophiles on there that go on there and just prey on like young children who play Roblox. That's crazy, bro. The story about Roblox is insane. I am thinking about going on there and doing some type of investigation of journalists myself, but I heard that Roblox is pretty much have like chilled over the years now compared to what they used to be. So we'll see. But anyways, just write in the comment section, let me know how you feel about that. What the fuck?
Beyond the actual people who run Sanctioned, it turns out that in the process of looking into them, people found out that they ran 3 other sites which became similarly notorious, even if they weren't as grim as Sanctioned. While I couldn't find a cohesive article or YouTube video making this connection, one report from the Center for Countering Digital Hate in 2023 actually did put 2 and 2 together. However, I will say that they can be quite biased in the way they present their information, as their CEO is a British left-wing activist. I'm not pointing this out to say that everything he says can and should be discounted because of that. I'm just saying everyone has a perspective. As per their graph on page 13, Lamarcus and Diego also owned incels.is, created for all men who can't get any or are otherwise frustrated at the opposite sex.
Oh shit. I didn't know about this actually. Yo, I didn't know about this. Incel.is, huh? I'm not an incel, but I mean, just interesting. So it's a forum for like incels to go there, or people that just like are like terrible at like getting women. So they go on this forum and just like bitch about women all day. Interesting.
Looksmaxing.org, the home of clavicular, bone smashing, and other Bogandoffish abominations.
Yo, I didn't know about this one either. Yo, Kavika used to be on the site. Yo, did Kavika used to be on the site? I didn't know that. Looksmaxing.org. Yeah, I'm about to go. I'm gonna have to go investigate this site afterwards.
And Neats.net for those who are not in employment, education, or training. While they weren't all created at the same time, basically all of these sites were, in one way or another, created in response to the huge ban wave that was going on in the late 2010s on Reddit, aiming to foster the communities that no longer had a place on their platform. I'll be going over these one by one, as each website has its own insular and interesting story. First off, we have incels.is, which was clearly the main focus of the CCDH's report. At the time this data was collected, there were only 4,000 active members, with 400, quote, power users, who were responsible for 3/4 of the posts on the forum. Now, I have no idea how exactly they reached this conclusion, but the report says nearly 90% of users are supportive of sexual assault. When I said that this report was biased, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. I assume that any joke regarding the subject automatically puts the user in the category of supportive, otherwise this stat makes no sense whatsoever, especially since a significant portion of the forum is geared towards instructing men on how to get women to consent to banging them. On the other hand, something that is quite concerning and verifiably true is that in 2022, one of the forum's rules changed from do not sexualize minors in any way, shape, or form to do not sexualize prepubescent minors in any way, shape, or form. If you have basic ball knowledge when it comes to losers, creeps, and pedos, you instantly
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of obvious we kind of do. I mean, yeah. I mean, I can't have that conversation on YouTube. So
know this means it's free reign for it's actually a phoebophilia crowd. Later on, it seems this rule was changed back to its original form, although I'm not sure why either of these...
Was that a picture of Sonny Fast? It's phoebophilia libertarian. Yeah, bro, that's the picture of Sonny Fast. Oh yeah, I see what type of turkey. I see what type of turkey Tom's on right now.
Later on, it seems this rule was changed back to its original form, although I'm not sure why either of these updates happened. Other rules that are more in the realm of funny rather than concerning include do not post blue-pilled content of any kind, and no gay or LGBT content unless you're criticizing it. This rule is somewhat redundant since the membership part of the rules already makes it clear that nobody who is a female, LGBTQ, non-incel, or under 18 should be allowed to register. But I guess they wanted to really hammer the point in. Despite their lack of tolerance for all of these groups, it seems they do allow furries and bronies, as well as people of any religious persuasion to join. So if you're a Jewish convention regular, then this forum welcomes you. They make it easy on new members by explaining what an incel is in minute detail. Our community's unique definition of the term and word incel is not exactly the same as what you might find in the normie world or in...
I'm trying to keep the subtitles on for you guys, but it's kind of getting in the way too much right now. You know what? Fuck it. No subtitles.
The dictionary. For us, an incel is a male who has never had a romantic, voluntary, unpaid sexual relationship with a human female ever in his entire life, and no romance whatsoever in his entire life with a human female. So this means to join up here and not be banned, you must have never had a girlfriend or wife, nor even a fling or one-night stand, as that too can be based in a type of fleeting romantic love or passion. The community has also repeatedly voted that so-called escort cells, i.e. men who have paid sex with prostitutes, whether on a regular basis, once in a while, or whenever the mood strikes, may also be considered incels and join the community, since a majority of our user base agrees that romantic pair bonding is what separates the normies and chads, i.e. sex havers, from incels.
Oh man, there's a lot to take in right now. Sorry, I'm trying to rearrange where my logos are at, trying to make sure they pin up right. Anyways, let's keep going.
and not simply sex itself. Once a person is able, if ever, to obtain a woman's love and affection and voluntary sexual intercourse from her, that man has ascended, meaning they have leveled up beyond incel status and now become a normie or a Chad. On some level, I have to respect the scrutiny these people have, as they could easily make a forum for any socially inept person, but instead, they deliberately make their standards as exclusive as possible. As of 2025, they've updated their rules to also ban people who are into femdom and those who use profile pictures from The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, reason being that they are apparently gay. They also eventually had to crack down on people talking about
That's actually true.
ER,
I agree
which
with
is
that.
shorthand for
I agree
committing a
with that.
mass casualty event, with ER meaning Elliot Rodger, the infamous shooter who proudly called
Now, hold on for a moment. Hold on for a moment. Shout out to Elliot Rodger. Shout out to the GOAT, Elliot Rodger. I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding. No one take this shit serious. I'm just joking. People are gonna probably be like, oh my gosh, she said Elliot Rodger was based. Don't take it serious, bro. I'm just fucking kidding, bro. Sorry, I'm fixing my camera's angle. I think that should be good. Yep. I want to make sure it pans up with that one. Yeah, Elliot Rodger. There's a documentary we could watch about Elliot Rodger that I do want to get into Elliot Rodger's story. I'm thinking about bringing back the true crime stuff. You know, now that we can finally stream and no issues no more. So I am thinking about doing the Elliot Rodger stuff. Yeah, we're gonna probably get into the Elliot Rodger stuff soon, because like this is like champion incel right here. This guy was, his philosophy was pretty much to say he was just like separated from reality at that point. He felt like the whole world revolved around him. The dude had main character syndrome that went to the extreme, to the point where he decided to go and try to mass shoot a bunch of people and, you know, kill a bunch of people, and then ultimately he got killed. Or did he take his own life? I forgot about him. But I think Turkey Tom's about to go over that run right now. So let's go ahead and jump into it.
called himself the Supreme Gentleman before killing 6 people, injuring another 14, and taking his own life.
Yeah, it was a self-deletion. Okay, so he did, you know, take his own life.
While the counter-hate report on it does overstate incels' propensity for violence by a wide margin, there is...
We're back now. Bro, I could have sworn that fixed the issue. Okay. All right, we're back. I just want to make sure everything's good, bro.
was frequently responded to by Lamarcus through his account on incels called Master. But besides these extremely dark incidents, there have also been
Yeah, this shit is crazy. This shit is
also
crazy.
been plenty of exotic personalities who have posted to the forum, who are now documented on the dedicated wiki page. These include Emba, a 62-year-old user who had only ever been with women twice in his entire life, both of whom were prostitutes. Rice-A-Roni-Cell, described as a 5'4" balding Chinese Filipino man with an overbite, crow's feet, and dark circles around his eyes, who worked in Walmart until he was 36 and had one failed attempt on his life, which left him with a scar. Mentally Lost Cell, a 6'3" Turkish man in his mid-20s who was beaten by his father and apparently was really into femboys, which ultimately got
What? Bro. God help humanity at some point.
him banned from the website, among many, many others. It's pretty interesting to me how, despite their extreme intolerance toward a variety of different things, the Incels forum draws people from all walks of life and all places in the world, all of whom are united by their deep inability to function in society well enough to get love from a woman. But incels.is is just one of the 3 other sites created by Diego and Lamarcus, although the 2 others are very much parallel to incels. Right now, thanks to Clavicular, one of these 2 is gaining a lot lot of notoriety, looksmax.org, which is basically for proto-incels who want to ascend by improving their physical appearance. According to these people, at least many of them, your looks are the defining characteristic not only to get sex and love from women, but also to get anything in your life whatsoever. Unlike incels.is, which is extremely exclusive with its membership standards, Looksmax is a lot more tolerant, which is partly why they have well over 100,000 members, despite being a Web 2.0 looking forum. While they don't allow LGBTQ content, you're only really forbidden from joining if you're a girl, which means you can technically be gay and post there as long as you don't talk about your love for your fellow man. The only real objective of all the users here is to look better by any means necessary or available, and based on what I can tell, they even allow minors to enter. Again, this is slightly ethically questionable because a huge portion of the procedures that are taught and facilitated on this forum are things that no minor should be doing. A lot of these people outright push for the use of hard steroids or getting plastic surgeries. And
Look, let me make something clear. I like a Vickler. Again, I don't agree with like taking, you know, a substance to, you know, gain a certain look or whatever. Still, he does not encourage his audience to do none of that stuff. So I don't know, like Turkey Time and one of all these other reaction YouTubers, especially like mainstream media types, that'll always sit there and try to pin that on Vickler and basically just say that he pushes this on his audience or whatever. He does not necessarily do that. No, he doesn't encourage his audience to take, you know, methamphetamine or whatever, or to do none of these hardcore jokes just to attain a certain body type, or bone smashing for that matter. You know, many people are not going to participate in none of that stuff. So if you already have to drive to go out there and already get in shape as you get in shape as you do, you go out and also try to get like say a hair transplant if you're like in like middle age, when you're already starting to lose your hair, you're getting bald, you get balding. So I don't see Vickler actually pushing that on his website. Many of the close friends to him have always asked him, do you push that on your audience? He says no, he does not encourage his audience to do so. He encourages his audience to go work out and get in shape, of course. So, and to fix minor issues that they're like medically feasible, like, you know, go to the dentist and get your teeth fixed. So for example, go to the gym and work out, you know, do your hair in a certain way. Like, he doesn't encourage none of that stuff to where people are like, some people are being like over exaggerating, like he encourages them to go and just start bone smashing their face or something. He does not encourage that. Come on, let's be real.
And desperate teenage boys who are going nuts because they don't have a girlfriend yet are falling for it. Now, not every user of Looksmax is like Clavicular, but still, it's not exactly an environment a teenager should be exposed to. Now that Looksmaxing related things are trending big on TikTok, there are a lot of kids who are basically being tricked into thinking that this is just an innocuous community for men who want to look better, when the reality is a good bit crazier than that. Much like incels and sanctioned, the community of looksmax.org also has its own long history that precedes the existence of the website. And to be honest, the role this community has played is underrated if you really think about it. A lot of people around my age, so early Zoomers, will remember that the late 2000s and early 2010s internet was mired in what's now recognized as the skeptic community. Basically, it started out as atheists that wanted to debunk Christianity and slowly transitioned to focusing on feminism and politics. But what's usually overlooked is that during the transitional period, it briefly became adjacent to the proto-red pill pickup artist community because of their shared dislike for feminism, which was also becoming a lot more popular at that point in time. In the midst of all of this, there came a forum called PUAHate.com, a now defunct pickup artist website where the actual Elliot Rodger used to post. PUA Hate is basically where the black pill was born. The idea that no amount of game, confidence, assets, or red pill knowledge will help you at all if you're genetically inferior, and the genetically superior will always get everything because they simply look better than you, are taller than you, etc. Consequently, all quote-unquote red pill stuff or pickup artist guru stuff was a scam to these people. Eventually, 2 other websites popped up that shared the same community. Hate, which eventually became Red Pill Talk, and contained a lot of discussions about what would now be called soft maxing, or improving your looks without surgical intervention, and lookism.net. Now, this trifecta of websites, typically referred to as PSL, became the cornerstone of the black pill community, which eventually came together in its final form, looksmax.org. While all of these transitions were taking place, this community consistently produced not only memes, but also terminology that seemed to always find its way into mainstream use. Given the popularity of the products of this niche, it's honestly not surprising that it's by far the biggest website out of all of them. You basically can't use TikTok without stumbling onto someone mewing nowadays. Besides Clav, whom I already posted a whole video on, which you should definitely watch, there are a few other notable members of Looksmax as well. First off, there's James Sapphire, someone I've already made a couple of videos about on my second channel when I was still doing that whole thing. I should note that the amount of disinformation surrounding James is enormous, and I fell for some of it myself. Basically, he's a TikToker who was in on looksmaxing early, but seemingly lost his mind as he fell deeper into its rabbit hole. Because of his willingness to play into the horrific online persona that was cultivated around him, a lot of rumors were spread about him getting extreme plastic surgery, eating his own poop, and a variety of other tall tales that were taken seriously. Although most of his online mythology turns out to be fake, whether it came from him or other people.
Did I just hear that right?
Online persona that was cultivated around him, a lot of rumors were spread about him getting extreme plastic surgery, eating his own poop, and a variety of other tall
Bro, Gen Z's cooked, bro. It's crazy to be part of this this generation. Is like, bro, to realize, like, bro, I'm telling you, Zoomers have an evolution. We have different variations of like Zoomers. It's like this generation is like all over the place, you know. It's all over the place with Zoomers. Zoomers have Zoomers are the most entertaining generation so far. With better than Boomers. Well, I wouldn't say better than Boomers were more politically savvy and more well read. Gen Xers were comic book nerds. Millennials are freaks. You know, when it comes to Zoomers, we're all over the fucking place, bro. We're all over the place. Being a Zoomer is like, bro, people can't say Zoomers are not the most exciting generation of them all. You can't say that, bro. Bro, this is just insane to me, bro. I'm an older Zoomer, so I mean, like, bro, looking back right now, some of this shit right here growing up with, bro, this is insane.
tales that were taken seriously. Although most of his online mythology turns out to be fake, whether it came from him or other people online who wanted to make him look like an insane person, it seems that James indeed was destroying his life via a combination of drugs and to this online act. I'm done with.
Bro, why am I still dropping? Oops, I forgot to put the screen back on. Sorry, y'all. Let me go ahead and go back right quick for you. I forgot to put the screen back on.
Other people online who wanted to make him look like an insane person, it seems that James indeed was destroying his life via a combination of drugs and self-destructive clout seeking. Eventually, he changed his tune to claim that the black pill was at fault for ruining his life, and he made a thread on Looksmax saying this: "Logged in to delete my account. This is my last message here. I will not be seeing any replies. Nothing left for me here. I got nothing left to prove. Deleted everything. Gave away all my social media accounts, emails, etc. No hope left for me here. Can't get a job, college, or a relationship because of my digital footprint. I don't care what happens to me anymore or my life. I don't give a shit about anything anymore, let alone any music I've ever made or anything. Wasted all of my time, money, and resources to pursue this online act. I'm done with it. I have been for a while now. I knew this time would come for a while. It's all gone now. Hope you guys archived it. If not, I don't give a f. I'll be destroying this computer soon with a sledgehammer and dumping it in the nearest lake. Wasted all my teenage years because I was young, impressionable, and brainwashed by sick people like all of you who like to prey on children and indoctrinate them into this cult. I didn't even want to say anything that rude besides the opening lines of this thread generalizing just a few people. But y'all's response proves that you all lack empathy for a young mind who was tortured into self-isolation, psychosis, drugs, and manipulated by people older than them to do twisted things on the internet, like saying the most outlandish, offensive things, hitting my face with a hammer for 2 years, and other things I don't even want to bring up in exchange for clicks and laughs directed towards me. I was misguided. No parental figures to help guide me the right way, didn't have therapy or a way to medicate myself, and all this doesn't affect me anymore. Black pill is not real. Looks maxing doesn't work. I am not an incel. I am not a part of this community anymore, doing what I should have done a long time ago. I was in crystal meth psychosis given to me at 17 by my own mother, who I haven't seen in exactly 1 year since I had my overdose on January 14th, 2023.
Wow.
I'm sorry to anyone I've ever hurt or any girl or guy I threatened, and I am sorry to this community for even making an account. My presence was not needed here. I was just a dumb kid with too much time in my hands, seeing hallucinations consisting of the most awful, horrid imagery, demons, etc., depersonalization, derealization, sleep paralysis, psychosis, and much more. I was not in my right mind from the time I created this account, but being here just made it worse. I am broke now. Spent all my last 10 grand on drugs and Uber Eats. I'm not upset at any of the users here anymore. This paragraph was enough to let it out. I feel as if a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I am not mad at the mods or the owner of this website either, as they had no responsibility for the chronically online internet trolls on this website. Goodbye now. This has been an emotional roller coaster for me typing this. I'm not bipolar. I'm just feeling every single emotion. This is like the come down from the acid trip. Have a nice life. Hope it treats you well. And oh yeah, one more thing. Don't yourself, by the way. That's never the right answer. Of course, all of you are not bad, although many of you are slowly becoming. It is always the handful bunch of rotten, bitter users and a closer statement to them. I will not see any further messages. Appreciate all the hateful messages on this thread. Thanks for the hospitality. While this response seems pretty candid, I will reiterate how untrustworthy a lot of the information surrounding James Sapphire is, even the bits that he provides, so take it all with a grain of salt. Besides him, we also have James FT, an Iranian man whose biggest claim to fame is pissing off the entire country of Cambodia by making a video about how terrible it is.
Do not come to Cambodia. I can barely get any matches on Tinder.
Bruh. You went to go visit the country, now you doing vlogs and showing shit in the streets, bro. That's crazy. Oh my god, bro, that is so funny. That is so fucking funny, bro. Damn, that's hilarious.
Everything is dirty and filthy. Look at this gigantic rat.
We also have Brendio, who is probably the most positive story from this website. Now, he's technically a fake cell because he did have a female significant other who broke up with him in 2020. But regardless, in 2019, he willingly represented the incel community in a Jubilee video, which now stands at nearly 7 million views.
If you could summarize your opinion towards women.
Like what I think of them?
Yes.
I do think they are very important, but
Why are they always fat, bro?
This video is kind of funny to watch if you're
fat?
familiar with actual incel stuff and not the caricature of it, because the way the video is structured does give the vibe that they were trying to make him look bad, when in reality, he actually seems like a pretty normal guy, all things considered. Since then, he's actually lost a lot of weight and looks much better. As a looks maxer would put it, he's ascended. Lastly, there's Neats.net, the smallest forum by far, and consequently the least eventful. The main two categories on the website are Neat Lifestyle, which is reserved for discussions of the lives of people who don't work and don't go to college, and Anime and Manga, which is pretty self-explanatory. Although this website is meant for unemployed people, it doesn't seem like it fosters the kind of community that subreddits about the same concept do, with the main difference being that the subreddits will blame society, politics, and economics for their problems, while Neats either blame themselves or the nature of reality itself that requires them to toil forever to make a living. Neats.net is a lot more lighthearted in comparison to any of the other three sites, and this really shows, given that the majority of the activity on this forum actually takes place in the off-topic section, where people post memes, music, random life stories, and other things like that. One of the latest threads on it is by Zoomer Psycho, with the title being, "Already lost my New Year's resolution of no porn."
What did I say? Wait, hold on. Before we get into that one, this is why I've always said, you can never go wrong with Zoomers, bro. We're like a multifaceted type of generation where there's like many different types of there's many different types of inspiration from like the Gen Xers, the boomers, and the millennials. Zoomers are just like a mixture of all those previous generations into one. Cause we have we're like a multi-layer shit, bro. This generation, like we're like Zoomers are a multi-layer generation. Let's just put it like that. That's what makes it so exciting and stuff. You got the smart Zoomers, you got the dumb Zoomers, you have the weird Zoomers, you have the, you know, the whatever the hell else type of Zoomers. You know, there's a multi-layer type of generation that's been inspired by previous generations and we're far more radical than boomers, Gen Xers, and millennials. Definitely far more. There's a lot more well-read Zoomers than there were probably. Well, it depends, but I would say there's probably like far more well-read Zoomers than most Gen Xers in some cases, because most Gen Xers, they just sit there and only read, like, their generation's only known for like comic book shit, bro. I don't really look at Gen Xers as being like well read at all in politics or history. Those guys care so much about their comic books, bro. You can talk to them about a comic book and they'll know a lot of stuff about that compared to what they know about history. I'm not lying when I say that. Like, Gen Xers are like the generation that's just like stupid. In my opinion, they're a stupid generation, the stupidest. There's a reason why, like, they're a generation that's like doesn't know how to take care of their money, their finances correct. And look, I get it with Gen X's, I mean Zoomers, we're set up to fail because like the economy we've pretty much like inherited is pretty much just like it's the fucked up, and we want to basically find the solutions to fix this issue so that way Zoomers can actually own something. Because right now in this generation, we're not going to own anything, unfortunately. So, but yeah, Zoomers are like a multi-layered generation. Let's just say that. We have inspiration from previous generations, but then we take it somewhat a step further.
A Zoomer psycho, with the title being "Already Lost My New Year's Resolution of No Porn. I folded hard after watching Sophie Rain stripping on Twitter. Gooned 3 times today. That is pretty grim." Ultimately, forums, they could easily slow to a halt. Alternatively, it's possible that the controversy spawned from Sanctioned and Looksmax could eventually lead lawmakers to try and crack down on them. Ultimately, only time will tell. Anyhow, there's no way that this video is going to be monetized given the subject matter, so if you enjoyed it and you want to see more content like this, check out the merch at turkeytom.shop. We have a new beanie in stock. It's going to be very, very useful for these cold winter months, and we also have the first shirt I ever released back in stock right now for all of you to check out. The design on both of these is pretty sick, and if you wear it in public, there's about a 4% chance someone will know what it is and bully you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.
All right, that one was a good one. All right, so we're gonna get out to our second video. This is by CoffeeZilla. This is talking about exposing the gambling epidemic. This one's going to be a good one.
Gambling has changed. It used to be you'd lose your money on slots in Vegas, but today, not only can you do that, you can also bet on your favorite sports team.
We're gonna go speed up to 1.5. Again, I am kind of pushed for time, so we're gonna speed up a little bit.
The opening point odds, this individual pitch, or on all 3 in a parlay. You can do it from your phone, your tablet, your Apple Watch. You don't just have to gamble on sports, you gamble on esports, on video game items, on slots with those items. You can do it in Roblox, or on regular stocks, on meme stocks, gamble with calls, gamble on earning calls, gamble on calls with earning calls. You can gamble on political events, world events. You can bet if Zelensky's gonna wear a suit before July, if Jerome Powell's gonna say inflation 50 or 60 times in September. You don't just have to gamble on that. You can gamble on crypto coins, Trump coin, Dogecoin, Farcoin. You can gamble on the champion of Farcoin coin. And you can gamble on any of the posts the champion of Farcoin has ever made on whether they will become popular or not. And if none of that's your cup of tea, you can also just gamble directly within your banking app on a game of roulette, like a gentleman. And don't even get me started on the ads. If you turn on sports, esports, podcasts, not even my favorite political show is safe.
Shout out to Prize Picks, the best app to fire on sports in the game.
You will be bombarded with gambling ads by every famous person you've ever heard of.
DraftKings.
DraftKings Sportsbook.
DraftKings Sportsbook.
Uh-oh. How did we get here? And is it a good thing that we're turning every spare moment of our lives into a game of chance? I'm betting no. There are three things responsible for gambling becoming more mainstream, but the first and biggest trend is simply the mainstream becoming more like gambling. See, Silicon Valley learned a decade ago that gambling mechanics are incredibly good for user retention, so they put them everywhere. Let's say you're shopping online. Well, now you can spin a wheel to unlock prizes. Or if you're playing video games, you can open a loot box, get some randomized items. You can even use those items as virtual currency in a casino we've made a 3-part series about. Or maybe you don't have a problem with loot boxes for adults, but we've also put them in kids' video games because, gotta start them young. Roblox is the largest game for minors, and they are stuffed with randomized loot boxes. But even if that's fine for you, what about the third-party websites which, against TOS, allow full gambling based on a kid's game? And yes, there are actual kids gambling on these apps.
Right, I just won a bit of profit there. I had 200 Robux. No, I had 200 Robux in profit, 100 Robux in profit, but I lost them. But I had 50 Robux and I lost it, and I thought I got 50 Robux again. So on this, mine's on a Robux Vault, what I'm going to do is buy 40 crates. No, not 40 crates, but like 40 crates.
What the fuck?
Let's go.
Is that a little kid gambling? Yo. This is why I'm glad I chose this video, because I am finna start streaming on Kick soon. I still haven't figured out the date of when that's going to be, but this is a good video to talk about like the horrors of like the gambling epidemic that we have going on today, because like I've seen this just like pop up a lot now, and like you have a lot of these big time streamers that are taking these gambling deals to go there and gamble on these websites. It's kind of insane to me, you know. A lot of these streamers are taking these gambling deals to go there and like gamble on these websites. It's just like, bro, this is insane. Make sure everything's good on my end. Get your code up. So about that. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, a lot of what's going on right now with this gambling epidemic right now is just like, bro, you got like a lot of like impressionable streamers who have like big followings taking gambling deals, and then gambling on stream is basically kind of like you're selling drugs to kids. It's basically what it is. It's a gateway. Gambling, in my opinion, is like the new top gateway drug to a lot of other health issues that lead, you know, when it comes to being like you gamble so much or whatever, it causes you to stress out a lot. Then you need some type of substance to just come down off that stress. And then you want to experiment, whether that be with like, you know, drugs or like alcohol. You know, gambling is like that new type of gateway, is that new top gateway drug now that just leads to a lot of other issues, you know. So, and like I said, this is kind of like becoming more of an issue, very much more becoming an issue. So we need to really address the problem right now of like what's going on right now with this gambling issue. This is the reason why, like, if I do stream on Kick, I'm not going to take a gambling deal. I don't want to take a gambling. I don't want to gamble on stream. I want to be able to stream and put out a positive message instead of promoting something that just leads people down to a path of like suffrage. You know, I feel like I'm basically just giving you drugs in your hand by me gambling on stream, and then you take that of what I'm doing on stream and you go apply it to yourself. So no, I will never take a gambling deal.
Let's go, win profit. Let's go.
It is absolutely disgusting to see that. Look, I spoke to an insider who worked on this website, Roblox Wild, before it got shut down. He shared data which claimed they made $5,000 a day, or roughly $2 million a year. Thankfully, this website got shut down, but third-party gambling sites still persist because copying casinos makes a ton of money. And that's why we've been putting it into everything, including our politics. Prediction markets are the answer to the question of what if we could YOLO on election results and world events. The biggest websites are Polymarket and Kalshi, which have exploded in popularity during the American election cycle. But it isn't just major events that attract bettors. I was recently asked to investigate whether this was a suit that that Zelensky was wearing. Why? Well, the prediction market had bet $200 million in betting volume on this bet. And some of them were really mad that they decided, no, this is not a suit, I guess. Whether you think it is or not, the volume of betting here is insane. And one reason for that is because these companies are exploiting loopholes that allow betting even in states where normal gambling is illegal. Because these companies say they're not a casino, so they don't fall under the same rules, which is why instead of having to be 21, you can now gamble at 18 on prediction markets. And while there have been legal challenges to this, both of the major companies, Kalshi and Polymarket, have recently brought on the president's son as an advisor, making it hard to see how they're going to be meaningfully regulated. Meanwhile, all the major betting apps are busy launching their own prediction market copycats to get around the same weak rules that we still have regarding betting. And don't even get me started on the other loopholes that are out there. Have you ever heard of the TikTok of sports wagering?
This is Cheddar. We're building the TikTok of sports wagering. Legal in 20 more states than DraftKings. Accessible for 18 to 21-year-olds. Live, in-game, micro betting. Swipe to predict every moment of every play.
I'm going to stop you right there. If you missed it, Cheddar is a new startup trying to combine DraftKings, TikTok, and Tinder features into one app. And one of the things they brag about is they're allowing 18 to 21-year-olds as a competitive edge. Guys, can you believe the untapped market of teenagers for gambling? Now, to be fair, Cheddar has not launched yet, but this is obviously the future we're heading towards, turning everything into a maximally addictive gambling product.
It's sports wagering with the pace of a slot machine.
Yeah, isn't that the most dystopian thing you've ever heard? We're trying to turn sports betting into slot machines. I mean, the funny thing is this whole product is built around yet another loophole called a sweepstakes casino, and that's how they get around the 21-year-old age requirement. Here's how it basically works. Sweepstakes casinos claim that you don't actually need to purchase anything to play, so it's kind of not gambling. In fact, you can get free coins to access their games, but they also have a second currency which you can buy. Well, not buy. You get it for free when you buy the worthless coins. For example, their website says if you buy 100 Cheddar coins, you get 5 bonus Cheddar cash, and that's usually what you can gamble with and redeem for real money. This is actually how Stake US works. If you didn't know, Stake International is one of the world's largest casinos, but they aren't allowed here in the United States. So they have an American arm, which is a sweepstakes.
Yeah, so that's what Kick is partner with Stake, and this is what a lot of streamers go on their platforms and play on live streams. Stake is one of Kick's major sponsors and partners, really. And like a lot of streamers, like there's a reason why like a lot of streamers have like the Stake logo on their streams, because you know that implies that they have that deal, that gambling deal implemented, and then they have the Stake logo on their streams, and pretty much like almost every time they're about to gamble, to imply that they're sponsoring Stake while they're gambling. So that comes with the gambling deal. Basically, it's kind of like you're selling yourself to the devil at that point. When you're signing that contract to take a gambling deal, it's just like you're doing harm by basically sitting there and taking that deal. You're basically just like I said earlier, you're basically giving drugs to people, to young impressionable kids too as well, who watch you and pretty much look up to you and want to follow in your footsteps by sitting there and taking a gambling deal. You're basically just like telling them that it's okay to go and take drugs. You might as well just tell them to take drugs at that point if you're going to sit there and gamble on stream, because gambling is just nothing but a gateway drug. It leads to alcoholism, or it leads to drug intake. So it's just like I said, it's just like it's becoming more and more of an issue as time goes on, because now we have betting odds almost literally on everything right now. Hell, people probably, if they already haven't, they're probably about to start betting on like when a girl's going to lose her virginity when she turns 18, or if she hasn't already lost it before she turns 18. So that's how far we've really gone, and that's how really addictive gambling has become in the society today. Gambling is pretty much just like at the forefront right now on everyone's minds. So yeah, it's becoming a very, very big issue now.
Stakes Casino, which has gold coins and Stake Cash. One Redditor explains how the loophole really works. Quote, one Stake Cash is $1 USD. They only use gold coins because they need to say that you aren't gambling with real money to stay open in the US. Except, of course, you are actually gambling with real money. They just have a virtual currency workaround, which basically everyone has figured out. Some casinos are just kind of more honest about it than others. Cheddar's basically saying the quiet part out loud. They're going after 18 to 21-year-olds with TikTok, Tinder, sports betting at the pace of slots. And by the way, people are betting on their success. They're actually in a cohort of startups invested in by a Silicon Valley investment firm called A16Z. But if you think that's a bad idea, Now let's talk about banks and gambling. I recently made a video on Yada, which was a fintech, which is a complicated story. We've done a ton of work on here and here. But basically, the original pitch was a no-lose lottery, which gamified savings. Lots of YouTubers work with them, and they acted like a bank, at least at first, until they switched their new business model to be about allowing you to gamble inside the app and lose money, essentially becoming a casino within what is essentially a bank account. Now, I should actually note that Yada recently shut down the banking side and have fully focused on the sweepstakes casino part. I guess it's a more profitable business, but it's a sign of the times that everyone is moving their app more towards gambling, and finance is going the same way. On August 19, 2025, the investing app Robinhood announced they are bringing sports betting prediction markets to their app. In the announcement, the vice president of Robinhood claimed sports betting was a, quote, no-brainer, as we aim to make Robinhood a one-stop shop for all your investing and trading needs. AKA, we noticed people were leaving to other apps. We don't like that. We'd like you to never leave our app. Ironically, the very next day, FanDuel, a sports betting app, announced they were bringing stock market betting to their customers.
But I will ask you about what some call the gamification of markets. Why this move? Why FanDuel? Why now?
For us to have a partner like FanDuel and be able to have 14 million accounts on day one, I'm not becoming a casino, contrary to popular opinion. I didn't buy a casino. These are markets that will be offered to the general public, and we think it's massively exciting what it could do.
And you couldn't have a more perfect image of how finance is embracing the casinos and vice versa. Actually, correction, you can have a more perfect image, because after I wrote this, the New York Stock Exchange's owner invested $2 billion into Polymarket. So actually, this is the perfect image of where we are. And the result is a lot of young people now see the stock market as kind of more like a betting market. The most popular group on Reddit is Personal Finance with about 21 million followers. In second place, Wall Street Bets, where gambling on the stock market is embraced and celebrated. It grew the most during the meme stock craze of 2020, which shifted how some people thought about investing. Instead of being driven by earnings, prices, or fundamentals, people gambled on memes, attention, and vibes. People are chasing bigger returns and taking on bigger risks to do so. One measure of this is the amount of debt people are taking out to invest. Margin debt is at an all-time high of $1 trillion, which even on an inflation-adjusted...
Yeah, the original gambling, the original gambling at high degree used to be stock market trading. Like, you would, like, literally, like... A lot of these stockbrokers would literally tell you it's just like that was their original like big time gambling. Like you go to school, you learn about how stocks operate, you learn about how to trade them to make a big investment on. Now, instead of that, now you're betting on like when a stock is going to fall and you make money off of that instead of just like going to learn about how stocks operate and how to know when to trade them, basically. So, like, instead of learning how to trade a stock, now you just bet on when the stock's going to fall. That's what you could essentially do now. Yeah, it's just like, bro, this is exactly where we've gotten to right now when it comes to this gambling stuff. This is exactly where we've gotten to.
Basis is near all-time highs and up 5x over the last few decades. Not only that, the rapid growth of zero-day options by retail traders is also a telltale sign. It's grown 5x in volume over 5 years, showing that people are trying to gamble more. Zero-day options are the stock trader equivalent of red or black at the casino. Fast action, massive wins or losses on a single day. But if the stock market is America's casino, then meme coins are basically the back alley bookie who will break your legs. Bigger price swings, faster action. Meme coins are even more degenerate than meme stocks and pump and dump usually within a single day. Among the people who trade these, Pump.fun is the leading destination as the one-click launchpad. Anyone can make a meme coin in seconds, and there is no value in it other than the expectation that someone might be more foolish than you and buy at a higher price than you did. And of course, Pump.fun is happy to take a cut and make most of the money. Most traders will lose, but now you can also get a cut if you're a content creator who pushes one of these coins. We've seen the same thing from launchpads like Meteora. They allow creators to have a split of some of the trading fees, and it kind of democratizes the grift. Now, anyone can farm their followers and fans for money. You don't have to be particularly sophisticated, and that's actually how Trump made millions of dollars in fees with Trump meme coin without ever selling. He just farmed the fees. And to be clear, this money doesn't magically appear. It's being siphoned away from...
Yeah, that got Trump in a lot of trouble with that meme coin. That shit got Trump in a lot of trouble. Trump faced a lot of backlash when he released that meme coin, and then he pretty much rug pulled everyone when he pulled the coin like out of just nowhere. That was crazy too. I remember when it first came out, bro, everyone was pissed off at Trump because of that.
From regular people who mostly lose. It creates a sad ecosystem where most creators are racing to the bottom for attention to get their audiences to pump their worthless coins, leading to a predictable spiral where most are scamming, rage baiting, or otherwise trying to shock each other into becoming the biggest grift of the day.
Bro, is that an Indian dude with literally the Nazi flag in a song? Oh my God, bro, what the fuck? What type of time are we in?
Thanks for the 20 bandos.
It's ripping.
What? If you've ever heard of a zero-sum game where someone has to win for the other one to lose, meme coins are negative sum. because of all the trading fees. Most people, by definition,
I told you
will
guys,
lose. The real
Zoomers
winner,
were
of
more
course, is
base.
Pump.fun and people pushing
We're
it.
the base
According to one analysis, they
generation
generated
of them
revenues
all.
of over $800 million for themselves, while almost none of the traders have made significant profits. According to one analysis, 0.4% of all traders will ever make over $10,000. So almost no one. And look, the reason we're going through all of this is to explain the many ways that gambling is no longer just about slots, cards, brick and mortar casinos. We've injected it into every conceivable aspect of our lives. And that has two effects. One, it's inescapable. You cannot avoid gambling by avoiding Vegas anymore. It's literally everywhere. And then two, it's also harder to understand and study because most researchers are studying like casinos, sports betting, but so much of gambling is not that anymore. So as we get to the numbers of this stuff, remember, everything's going to be an undercount. But it is still important to talk about those casinos, and that's where we're going to shift now. Starting with the biggest trend that has happened for these casinos, and number two on our reason, which is sports gambling becoming legalized. Rewind the clocks for a second back to 2018 when the Supreme Court overturned a federal ban. At the time, basically, you could only sports bet in Nevada. But after this, you can see in a few years, we completely flipped on the issue. Most states now allow sports betting, and along with that, the advertising budgets for these companies is absolutely enormous. DraftKings, FanDuel, Underdog, Prize Picks. They've spent hundreds of millions of dollars getting celebrities and influencers to push their product every year, and man, has it worked. As I'm writing this, the #1 sports app on the App Store is not sports. It's not ESPN. ESPN and the NFL are second and third. The #1 sports app is actually DraftKings. And in the top 10, half of those apps are sports betting, which is insane. There are two reasons for this. Obviously, one, hundreds of millions in advertising. But the second is what are called inducements, which is when these apps will incentivize players to download them and place a bet, sometimes literally offering what seems like free money.
It's got an NFL offer.
Don't play with me.
Just turn $5 into $150.
Yeah, you see a lot of these sports.
Spend $5, get $300 in bonus bets if you win.
Yeah, if you still like have like apps that you watch that you have commercials on, you see a lot of these commercials pop up. Even sometimes if you still have like YouTube, if you don't have YouTube Premium, you see these ads pop up all the fucking time on there promoting gambling for like a lot of these sports betting. So yeah, it's just like, I'm not surprised, bro. And then you see some of these big time athletes and celebrities collab together on some of these ads to sit here to promote the gambling website. You know, you say you like I said, like look for instance, right now, FanDuel, new customers, buy 5, get $300 in bonus bets if you win. Encourage, it's basically it's incentivizing you to gamble, but they'll give you money to start off with, and then you know the rest is history after that. After you get like a little bit of their currency to gamble with, next thing you know, you're going to be betting your own money more and more and more, because like you're addicted to, like, either at first is an addiction to win big, or at that point it just becomes like just straight up just an addiction just because it is an addiction. Like you're not even just playing to win anymore, you just like you can't stop doing it. The dopamine's pretty much has already kicked in.
New customers get risk-free bets up to $2,000.
Now look, the reason casinos do this is kind of obvious. If they can make you place one bet, they're more likely to place the second, third, and 100th. But even setting aside the fine print of these weird offers, does it not strike anyone else as weird that we're allowing gambling companies to give away free stuff? Imagine the cigarette industry told you, buy your first pack, get 50 free packs free to get you started. Imagine Budweiser said, shotgun one, they'll send you a case for fun. It's insane. And yet, that's exactly what these sports betting apps are doing. It's the lifeblood of how they get new players. And once you're in, these apps will also cater to their biggest players, biggest losers, called VIPs. They will send them gifts as they spend their life savings. And there have been multiple lawsuits actually about this. And to make it worse, if you do the opposite and you actually win too much on these apps, they will try to limit your betting, as one investigation found.
If you show any real ability to effectively handicap a game and beat the sportsbook, they will limit your bets and essentially kick you out of the sportsbook. They will not let you win. Can you talk to me a little bit about how sportsbooks treat you once you start winning?
They don't want to accept your bets. Yeah, it turns out the casinos actually hate the exact player that's featured in all of their advertisements, the guy who actually wins too much money, which is actually so crooked when you think about it, that if you're one of the few people who achieves what they're promoting, they actually don't want you. Now, as I was writing this story, another massive scandal actually broke in the sports betting world, which is even more corrupt than not allowing winners.
But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into...
Yeah, this one was a big one. This involved this involved a coach, a basketball player, and many associates that were involved in this big gambling ring. Bro, this was crazy. This was crazy even to this day. I think Terry Rozier is banned completely from the NBA, and Chauncey Billups, he's banned from the NBA too, from ever coaching again, probably from basketball in general. I mean, he probably can go coach overseas, but I doubt that for the most part right now that's going to happen, because like he has to constantly keep going to court over this issue.
custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years.
That's right. The FBI just exposed a massive sports rigging scheme that was using these apps to win money on rigged basketball games. One example of this was March 23rd, 2023, when an NBA player, Terry Rozier, told a friend ahead of time that he was going to go out early on a foot injury. And so that night, $200,000 in bets were placed on his underperformance because no one else knew that he was injured. And a few minutes after Terry kind of limping around, he left the game and the bets paid off. A few days later, Terry Rozier and his friend allegedly counted the money at his house from the fraudulent wagering scheme.
Bro,
and this
that's
is one of several rigged
crazy.
games the FBI alleged. But the media was quick to point out this isn't even the first time someone was caught doing something like this.
Jonte Porter, who played for the Toronto Raptors, has already pled guilty. He's already pled guilty. He's awaiting sentencing for doing just what Rozier and Jones are accused of. So this train has already left the station, Laura. And I have to tell you, when Jeff Teague, an NBA player, says, oh, there's betting everywhere, it is everywhere. I've done ads for DraftKings. LeBron James has done ads for DraftKings. In fact, ESPN, when they were reporting this story this morning, they're having programming, people talking just like you and me, talking about this scandal on the press conference the FBI was giving. And underneath them on the ticker was an ad for ESPN Bet, which is ESPN's own sportsbook.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like they're talking about how bad this gambling issue is becoming, and they're still promoting it. So you're not necessarily fixing the problem if you're still going out there and promoting the gambling issue. Like it's like streamers are talking about the dark reality of gambling, and then they just go right back to gambling the next day, like they didn't just give like a motivational speech the night prior about how bad gambling is. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't participate in it, and then the next day they go right back to gambling. It's insane to me, bro. It's really insane.
The irony of all of this is that the same people who condemn illegal betting going on are simultaneously pushing the sports books which create the opportunity. And at some point, the producers on ESPN actually noticed it. And see if you can spot the moment they try to fix the sportsbook ad in the corner.
You hear a lot about legal sports gambling on this show. The Bussin' Boys, obviously sports gambling is a huge part of what you do, so we put those all out there as a preamble because it might be in the back of people's minds, and we acknowledge that this is a different time and place. However, there is a fine line, not so fine, there is a bold line that obviously has to be drawn.
So they took it off
That's a little
screen?
awkward. You're actually supposed to remove the ad for sports betting before talking about sports rigging. And honestly, we've only hit the tip of the iceberg here because we've since learned these professional leagues are useless at catching this stuff. Turns out the NBA already investigated Terry Rozier before the FBI indictment for that exact game, and they cleared him because the NBA commissioner said there was insufficient evidence.
Ultimately concluded that there was insufficient evidence despite that aberrational behavior to move forward.
Right. So even with aberrational activity, they had the right game, the right guy, and the NBA couldn't find enough evidence. I mean, the more money that goes into sports betting, the more this will be a problem, and the leagues are clearly not equipped to handle it. But people just look the other way because the money's too good. And I want to now address the size of these betting markets because they're absolutely enormous in ways most people don't understand. And to get our heads around it, we're going to look at some survey numbers. One study estimates that 22% of all Americans and almost half of men my age have an online sports betting account. Another estimates that 1 in 4 people have placed a bet on sports and 1 in 5 have placed a bet in the last year. Like with all surveys, there's margins of error here, but the data mostly agrees. Sports betting is very widespread and extremely popular among young men. And for the ones who get addicted, it's financially devastating. One recent study looked at Americans' finances before and after sports betting was legalized by their state. They found that bankruptcy rates rise approximately 10% after legalization. Another paper looked at financial stability, noting that for households that do bet, they spend on average about $720 a year sports betting. And the study found that for every dollar someone deposits for betting, there's a reduction in net investments of just under $1. As people gamble more, they invest less, which means their financial future is worse. Makes sense. But this is especially true of problem gamblers or gambling addicts. To be clear, this is not something that affects all gamblers. Roughly 1% of the world population suffers from this. It's more common among people who bet regularly and bet online, two of the things that sports gambling encourages. Problem gambling completely obliterates people's finances and affects more than just the gambler because as they beg, borrow, or steal to continue their addiction, they affect everyone around them. And I do mean steal. Roughly half of gambling addicts will commit a crime, and most of those crimes are to continue gambling, often leading to a spiral where the addict doesn't see a way out, which is why problem gambling has one of the highest suicide rates of any substance addictions. Full stop.
That's definitely true.
Okay, you know none of this matters, right?
Yeah.
You tried this before with Roulette, CS2, and it did nothing.
Yep.
No, literally, I mean nothing. Absolute silence. All the moralizing, the anti-gambling, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Bro, what the fuck?
Let me tell you a story. A year ago, I was offered $20,000 to do a video by a casino. Now, I said no and made a whole series about it, but what I didn't tell you is that later I was offered $1 million to cover my legal fees in an ongoing case. Now, this was offered by a person who said they wanted to remain anonymous, no strings attached, very nice person. They said they wanted to just help out. Sounds great. But then I found out the money was coming from a sports betting company. They were one of the top people, and that's obviously a dilemma for me. I am publicly against gambling, and here this person's kind of privately telling me, well, gambling can pretty much solve all my problems. Pay my legal fees, they're telling me, oh, their company's regulated, it's fine, it's above board. Ultimately, I had to say no. Thank you for the offer, but, in my head, there's no such thing as $1 million, no strings attached. And, obviously, I also can't take $1 million from a sports betting company and then go make a video criticizing sports betting. But it gave me pause. and kind of gave me an aha moment that I was missing before, where I started to understand exactly how screwed we are. And this goes into our third reason gambling is winning. The casual way these casinos can throw around life-changing money for any normal person is why the data will never fix this. It's why having enough sad facts about addicts or interviewing people whose lives were ruined will not change things. Believe me, I've done it, and it's never moved the needle. To be honest, it's not even debatable that gambling is kind of bad for most people and life-destroying for a few. Even the industry kind of admits that, but the reason gambling is everywhere in spite of that is there is too much money in the game benefiting the people that make the final decisions, right? Think about the states with tax revenue, the casino profits, the influencer payouts. There's a small group that gambling is incredible for. So incredible, it basically defies logic. I'm talking billions of dollars in profits. And if you want to understand why gambling is everywhere, you can't just look at the statistics. You have to look at the money. And I want to show you exactly how this works with an example. This is Matthew. He's better known online as Nadeshot, and recently he took a gambling deal with an offshore crypto casino. And when he first talks about the deal, I want you to notice it's a little strange. He almost seems hesitant.
Boys, we just partnered with Rootbet, and before I say anything, don't gamble, okay? You will lose. I promise you, you're gonna lose. But that's why I partnered with Rootbet, so they can pay me to gamble. So even when I lose, I'm still gonna lose.
Yeah, it's pretty weird to hear someone say, don't gamble, guys, while announcing a partnership with a gambling company. Nadeshot implies that he may lose money, but in fact, he later admits that it's the most money he's ever been paid.
This is the biggest partnership that I've had in my entire career.
No, instead, I think the hesitancy, the weirdness of this video is because Nadeshot knows pushing gambling is kind of bad for people. He said so in a podcast a couple years ago.
I definitely think that people streaming on Twitch, all the crypto betting, certainly incentivizes younger kids to be more interested in crypto gambling. Like, I know personally people that should not have been gambling online, but because it's so easy to gamble with crypto, they did it when they could not afford to do it, and it has not worked out well for them.
Right. Nadeshot knows personally it's bad. But for the reason why he's doing it anyways, just fast forward 2 minutes in the podcast and we find out because the host asks, a hypothetical. What if someone offered Nadeshot $100 million to promote gambling? And well, let's just say his tone changed.
I ain't turning down $100 million, bro. You got me up, brother. I'll go on there and I will crypto gamble 24/7, dude. At that point, man, it's the parents' fault. Hey, I'm just working over here. You're going to pay me more than LeBron? Brother, I would be lighting up, cash on fire, gambling crypto. I would sell my soul for 100 M's. Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
We should clip this. We should send this over. Okay.
I won't.
Bro. Man, I swear these streamers. There's no such thing as never with some of these guys. It's just only how many. In this case, how many zeros are we talking? Depending on how many zeros these guys are going to sign away their morals real quick, bro. It doesn't really matter who. Like, these guys have no morals, bro. These guys will do anything when it comes to the money. And I get it. You gotta feed the future generation, of course. But it's just like, bro, a gambling deal, man. Come on, man. You could at least stood 10 toes down and not took the gambling deal, bro.
Sleep. I will be your workhorse. You want me to pump blue chews and crypto gambling? I will do it all. You got me fucked up. Them kids, dude. Fuck them kids.
Look, I'm just gonna say,
crazy.
You can say he's wrong for saying that. He's a bad person for saying that. But the reality is, this is why gambling is winning. The casinos have so much money, they are buying people's souls. Even people who kind of admit gambling's kind of bad. Put enough money on the table, and Nadeshot says, hey, fuck them kids. And by the way, speaking of fucking them kids, let's talk about Drake.
W's in the shot.
It isn't just streamers or influencers taking deals. It's the biggest rapper on the planet. He signed a reported $100 million deal recently with Stake, the crypto casino, which is wild. There's really no endorsement deals like that anywhere else that hit those kind of numbers. And just like Nadeshot, Drake wants you to know that, even though he's taking the money, gambling isn't for everyone. Recently, he posted an $8 million loss, saying, gotta share the other side of gambling. Now, maybe some of you think that's brave, but to me, I see that and go, Drake, that is the only side of gambling for most people. If any normal person lost $8 million, their life is over and their legs are broken. You're the only one with another side to this whole thing. Where, to be clear, that other side is reportedly getting paid $100 million. And to be clear, like, it's a lot of people taking these deals. I'm not trying to single anyone out. Let's also take Kevin Hart, right? One of the world's smallest comedians. He pushes DraftKings. And this one I find really bizarre.
Do me a favor, man. Go to the DraftKings app. Look at what I'm betting on. Look at why I'm betting on. Place your bets. All the action is here. DraftKings, Kevin Hart.
I'm not even going to ask why Kevin needs you to get on DraftKings and bet. Like, the fact is he's worth a reported $450 million. But the real thing I find so gross about this is that Kevin Hart has gone on podcasts and talked about the need for financial literacy. He talked about this on Joe Rogan.
The biggest problem within our community is knowledge. We don't know. Debt is welcomed because it's celebrated. That's all we know. The knowledge isn't given. So it's not till you obtain that knowledge and understanding that you go, oh, this is why you put money up. This is how you increase versus decrease. Oh, this is how you earn on your money. Oh, wow. I can gain wealth by investing in what? The stock world is what? How many people partake in the stock world? And is there a part that isn't necessarily gambling? Is there a low risk part? The information isn't there.
Yeah, Kev, maybe the information isn't there on the stock market part, which isn't gambling, because you're too busy telling them about actual gambling. Understand that Kevin Hart is not just a guy who sometimes talks about it on podcasts either. He has a whole partnership, an actual partnership with Chase Bank, where they ran a campaign to improve financial literacy. But then Kevin goes on the side and he's pushing DraftKings, which preys on people's financial illiteracy. And while we're talking about small comedians with big bank accounts, let's talk about Joe Rogan too. And listen, I'm not trying to be high and mighty with all this stuff. I know it sounds a bit
Joe
like
Rogan
that, but
promotes
believe me,
gambling
I level with these guys. Okay,
very
I'm very short too. You can't tell all the time.
very
$10 million to your desk,
regularly.
but no offense is intended here. We got to discuss though how the biggest comedians in the world, biggest smallest comedians, are pushing DraftKings. Didn't Joe get a $250 million deal from Spotify? I didn't realize before this video like how many gambling ads he has been running recently. In the month of September alone, there were 11 DraftKings ads in 14 videos. And with Joe especially, it's weird because he's the guy who rants against Big Pharma's manipulative advertising.
If you can advertise, you can manipulate people and change their opinion based on theatrics.
So many. Everyone gets a free bet. We all want to win. Hey, let's win together.
You know what to do. You have music and people dancing and holding hands and spinning around in a wheat field. Like, that is so manipulative. And we are subject to manipulation. And when it's something that is so important, like making critical health decisions, there's so many of these commercials. Like, so many times I'm watching television, like, how many goddamn drug commercials are there?
By the way, I agree with them. We are being manipulated, but change it.
Why does it keep disconnecting? Oh my gosh, bro. I thought I fixed this issue now. Check and see. Maybe it's probably because this. I know we're back now. I'm trying to figure out why does it keep disconnecting. We're still live? Yeah, we're still live. Okay. Anyways, we'll deal with that another time.
Cocaine, it's just like drug abuse. It's just like the opiate problem. It's just like anything else. It could you and I both know people who have lost their lives gambling. Okay, you've seen people in pool halls. You see how they get Joe Rogan. There's no difference in the drug addict and the gambling addict. Not at all. No difference.
So there is no difference. Then why do we shake our head at the Sackler family and pharmaceutical execs who push pills that ruin people's lives, but somehow nobody cares? We're doing a very similar thing with gambling. At every level of society, we are shoving this down people's throats. And it's not that I mind if people gamble individually, but we are pushing it on people who otherwise would not have done it because everything is gambling now, from sports to entertainment to investing. It is totally inescapable. And we're moving the casino from Vegas directly into people's pockets, connecting to their bank accounts. I don't know exactly how this is going to end, but it doesn't take a genius to see where it's going to lead. Gambling is going to be a much larger problem for people and especially young men. And the saddest part is there's no amount of data or facts that I can give you that's going to stop that. There's just too much money at stake.
That is true. Apparently, he's reached out to a lot of people that he's named in the video, and none of them returned back to him for any award. This is from Dio Vaughn. I feel like in broadcasting space, there is a decent amount of regulation in our ad reads, and I tried to remember to advise our listeners that gambling may not be right for them, but I do often forget to do that, to be honest. That's from Dio Vaughn. This was from the Nelk boys, the Nelk managers. So apparently, Nelk, Kyle, Slim, and Steiny only affiliate themselves with legal platforms like Prize Picks and play by the rules.
Hey, come back to the bar and let me fix you a drink. The weather isn't changing anytime soon.
You know, all it would take is basic advertising rules or legislative change to put a stop to half of this stuff.
That's the thing. Money makes the world move, Coffee. And the people who write the rules like them just the way they are.
Do you really think it's worth all of this, though? Like, just for a little more money?
Hey, you said it yourself, didn't you? It's not just a little money. It's a lot more money. If people would sell their soul for $100 million, well, imagine what they do for billions.
You know, maybe it is time for that drink.
You're gonna tip this time, right?
All right, so CoffeeZilla. It's a good video. Yeah, so that's it, right, everyone? Shorter stream today. I'll be back tomorrow with the news. We might do a second chill stream tonight. I don't know, because I didn't like the fact that this thing is still buffering. Apparently, I got to move some stuff around right here off to the side that you guys are not seeing, because I think that's what's affecting my signal. I might try to actually see if I could stack it upwards. Anyways, but look, W stream. I'll see you guys If I don't come back tonight, I'll be back tomorrow for the news. Anyways, have a good rest of your night. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you leave a like and a comment. We didn't really have many bufferings like we usually would, but I'm gonna change some stuff around right quick, and then hopefully that'll fix the issue. Anyways, have a good one. Peace.